I'm Kerry Shale.
And I'm Daniel Crespin.
And this is Bob Dylan.
Approximately.
I'm Kerry Shale.
And I'm Daniel Crespin.
And this is Bob Dylan.
Approximately.
Inside the museums, infinity goes up on trial. Voices echo, this is what salvation must be like after a while. But Mona Lisa must have had the highway blues. You can tell by the way she smiles. See the primitive wallflower freeze, when the jelly-faced women all sneeze. Hear the one with the mustache say, "Geez, I can't find my knees." Oh, jewels and binoculars hang from the head of the mule. But these visions of Joanna, they make it all seem so cruel.
Nice. This must be what salvation's like after a while. A good reading, interesting reading.
You can picture the jelly-faced women and the sort of high society people.
I do, yeah.
I
love that particular bit that you chose. It's great, and "Geez, I can't find my knees" is one of my favorite Dylan lines.
Yeah.
It's
great. I mean, even the way this opens, ain't it just like the night to play tricks when you're trying to be so quiet? I mean, for me as a lifelong insomniac, pretty much, that sums it up. But what a way to so you're not even... He's managing to set the scene without saying anything of his surroundings yet.
Okay, let's go back.
You always have to rein me in, Kerry. Well, it's good. It's good.
We have to say Visions of Johanna.
Visions of Johanna.
We're finally tackling it. And I can't remember what episode this is, but I think it's good that we've waited.
Yeah.
And I'm, we're super relaxed. We know the format.
You guys are used to us as well.
Yeah, and this is it's like an Everest. It's one of Dylan's Everests.
Yeah.
And I'm so...
It's truly a masterpiece.
Yeah.
It's a real masterpiece of a song. I mean, the second line, we sit here stranded, though we're all doing our best to deny it. I mean, that's kind of fundamental wisdom about what it means to be human, right? I mean, none of us truly knows what the fuck we're doing. We're making the best out of, this random situation we find ourselves in.
Yeah. Well, let's take it easy. Let's take it one step at a time, ascending this Everest. So we're recording this at Cathouse Studios because Robin, our producer, is in Japan and sent us a photo from Budokan.
Yeah, it was on our Instagram a while back now because this will come out.
Exactly, this will come out. Who knows? But this song was requested. I think it's the first song that was requested by a Patreon subscriber.
Yes, who requested it now?
Arvid,
yes. So we
So this whole thing is really an advert for joining Patreon.
Yeah, but thank you to Arvid as well because it's one of those songs that I was almost fearful of. As you say, it is Everest.
If Arvid hadn't suggested it, we would have put it off.
Absolutely. Yeah. But it's good. I think we're taking the plunge.
Yep. Do you know that Andrew Motion, when he was poet laureate, you probably know this, called it the greatest song lyric ever written?
Yeah, he's a big Dylan fan, isn't he? There's another song we did where I got a quote from him about Dylan as well.
No, but he also said Dylan had never sounded lonelier, which I thought was
yes,
and that is true. I'm going to give some background. Before we really get into it, I've got, let's see, do I have it up here? Oh yeah, here it is. I don't know if you know this book, but I will lend it to you. It's brilliant.
Ooh, great.
That Thin Wild Mercury Sound.
Great photo on the front. Blonde on blonde. Yeah, photo sessions.
Looking unwell.
Yeah, looking very on amphetamines, I think.
Yep. And so it's called Dylan Nashville and the Making of Blonde on Blonde by Daryl Sanders. And it's a great book, not about what the songs are about, but about the recording sessions. And so this is what I gleaned. I'll just give you a bit of what I gleaned from it. Nashville was as small as Winnipeg at the time that Dylan was down there, 500,000. It was not a
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was not this giant musical beast, this hub. It was a place where country people went to do country music.
I
mean,
it kind of, at its heart still is. Sorry, I won't go on about it too much, but Nashville, I still think that, although it's become a very, loads of different types of music, it's still, if you want to be a country musician, you go to Nashville. kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah,
carry on.
but this was the day, and the people who played on this album were all the really young, really shit hot, obviously, session musicians, and they were earning a living by backing Johnny Cash and everybody down from Johnny Cash. And anyway, this was Valentine's Day 1966. And it was warm, and Dylan's flight was late, and the musicians clocked in for a 2:00 session I think there was a thing, they had like regular musicians union rates, and then they had better than regular, and they were on the better than regular.
Yeah.
And so Dylan was supposed to be there at 2:00. They were all there at 2:00. Dylan wasn't there, so they started playing ping pong and drinking coffee and playing board games. At 5:00, because they're 3-hour sessions, 5:00 they signed their time cards for the end of that session. There was no music, no Dylan, and 3 hours in Nashville, these people would record a minimum of 3 songs.
Wow.
Minimum of 3 songs, sometimes 6 songs if they were particularly simple.
Yeah,
but
that's shit hot musicians.
That
right
is
there.
amazing. You know, they just come in. I don't even know if they'd have the charts beforehand. I don't know what the deal was. But anyway, so Dylan arrives at 6:00 with Grossman, leaving Sarah and 1-month-old Jesse at the hotel. And the band is still on the payroll, and they're told to go out to dinner while Bob finishes writing. So they come back, and sometime after 9:00, they're called to the studio, and they record Fourth Time Around, which is a tough song. And Dylan is very pleased. He thinks he knows he can work with these guys, and that they're not, the sessions in New York had not gone well. And the band that he was using, which became the band, were a great rock band, but they couldn't find the music. Anyway, around midnight they begin to record Visions of Johanna, and the first 3 takes were unfinished. There were 2 false starts, and then there was one that collapsed halfway through. And the fourth time around, it worked, and that's the version that we've got, which is actually the first and only complete tape.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
The great thing about this, this album is you can hear the takes on the Cutting Edge bootleg series, which is very interesting if you're a real Dylan nerd.
And
like
the New York version is really interesting because I think it's fun. Like I like it.
There's some great sort of more upbeat versions of this song.
Yeah,
that still rock.
It wasn't what Dylan heard in his mind. And
he was right.
And he was right because it's a profound.
He's not always right, but he was right here.
But this song is really profound.
Yeah,
and it doesn't need a rock version. It needs exactly this version. Anyway, continue with what you've got to say.
Well, I just think, as with so many Dylan songs that we've spoken about, he sets the scene so brilliantly. I mean, I've just said those first 2 lines, but then it goes on to, it's sort of a dingy loft apartment, the heat pipes coughing, he's thinking about Joanna. I love the line that conquer my mind. I love that. It's like he's trying to get rid of these thoughts about someone, but he can't. They've conquered him. They've got through his defenses in a way. And I like that. Yeah.
Yep. And I just, the name Johanna, I think, is like, first I thought, because he doesn't say Joanna, it's got an H in it. It's Johanna. And I thought, have I ever met anyone called Johanna?
It's weird. In song form, there's a few Johannas as well. So there's Visions of Johanna. There's Sondheim for Sweeney Todd did just a song called Johanna. I feel you, Johanna. But even then they say Joanna.
Well, anyway, it's from, I did a bit of research on this. It's from the Hebrew name, Johanna, meaning God is gracious.
Nice.
And it also sounds, if you can see, isn't it beautiful? This sort of soft Johanna. It sounds like a whisper
of Johanna. Yeah, you're right.
It does. If her name couldn't have been, Betty Lou.
No. Yeah.
It's in the mouth. It's sort of even just saying Johanna. It sort of drifts. Something
more
through.
Wistful about it, isn't it? In a way,
it barely exists. It's not like Marjorie.
Yeah.
No offense to any Marjories. But.
There's a scholar now, he's called Lawrence Coop or Kaup, I'm not sure, apologies, but he's argued that the identity of the title character echoes Kerouac's Visions of Gerard, which was written in 1956, published in 63, so not too many years before this. And the song as a whole, like the novel, Coop says, would seem to be about the hunger for beatific experience, the hope that the sacred realm might yet be glimpsed within the profane. Johanna, like Gerard, represents the salvation that comes out of suffering, but unlike Kerouac, Dylan depicts this possibility as tauntingly remote, a cause of suffering in itself. I mean, it's one of the few Kerouac pieces I haven't read, but I'm going to now. I'm not sure I agree that that's what the song's about. I think it's just about...
Well, it's an interesting title. I mean, and he was a big Kerouac fan. So
yeah.
Interesting that he... And Gerard is not a million miles from Johanna.
Yeah. I think, and maybe I'm just... I noticed looking through some of these legendary songs that we're about to cover, maybe I just don't understand them, but I think at their essence, they're simpler than they seem. I think this is about a woman that he's mad about and wishes he wasn't mad about, and she's sort of conquered his mind, as you say.
Well, you're jumping into what it's... I'm not going to jump into what I think it's about quite yet. I'm actually going to go back to the... This just hit me. The names, like I was saying, Marjorie and Louise. Actually, we used to have... there was a teenage girl who was part of the family that lived 2 doors down from here, and her name was Louise. And her mother would always come out and go, Louise! Louise! It's not, it can be quite beautiful, but it wasn't when... But it doesn't... It's the opposite of Johanna.
Yeah.
It's very down to earth.
And he even does it with the, the way he delivers it, these visions of Johanna, whereas just Louise.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they're, this is such, So Louise to me is very ordinary, down to earth. It's an old fashioned name.
Yeah,
and it represents normality and sort of maybe even just like a marriage, a normal marriage, that sort of thing. And whereas Johanna is like a fantasy, a vision, artistic, freedom. To me, that's, I think, what the song seems to be about. That Johanna is the thing that even Bob Dylan can't quite capture. This artistic, more than artistic. That's even makes it seem too real,
almost mystical. We've spoken about this before. Yeah. Bob's sort of thing about witchy, mystical, artistic women, that he would never in real life. It would never work with someone like that for him, I don't think. But he's got this imagination of what maybe someone on his level artistically.
Well, in the second half of this episode, we're going to cover Sad-Eyed Lady of the Lowlands, and I think that's an extension of this. He actually believes that he's actually found her. I think in that case, but I think that's the dialectic of this thing is the clash between reality and this cosmic realm. And was this song, I mean, certainly Sad-Eyed Lady of the Lowlands, everybody knows pretty much. He has said, Bob Dylan has said, it's about Sarah.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, this is now getting off into the realms of theory, because I can stand behind the first half of this, but not the second half. Is that it's almost like an inadvertent warning to his new wife that he's always going to be looking for something beyond.
Yeah.
He's always going to be looking for Johanna.
Well, this is the thing. I think Louise, the character that is used as the counterpoint to Johanna, she's perfectly fine. She's good to be around, but she doesn't conquer. I keep coming back to that, conquer my mind. I think maybe that's why, as with all Bob songs, I take what's personal to me from it. But I suppose most people have been there, where you're tempted by the dangerous, exciting one, and there's another girl who is perfectly nice but passes you by because there's something about, I don't know, just the amount of lovely, perfectly brilliant, smart women that have passed me by when I've gone for the sort of more dangerous, exciting one.
Yeah, I think it is about those dangers partially. I think this song. I mean, it's one of those songs that for me I knew was sort of highly acclaimed. I mean, Blonde on Blonde always kind of passed me by in that I would listen to it and I would enjoy the musicality of it, but I like Visions of Johanna always kind of flummoxed me. Like, I kind of got a general idea of what it was about and the dichotomy between the real and the ethereal. But anyway, it was great just getting into it and just thinking about it for, weeks, because I think we've had to delay this a few times.
I've been ill, unfortunately. Yeah.
And so, like, just going into the Mona Lisa verse, it's so great, because Mona Lisa is famously this enigmatic, feminine beauty who seems to be very real. She's not even, I think, really conventionally pretty.
No, but it's almost the intrigue of her. They always say she's enigmatic. That she's sort of inviting you to come take a closer look. I feel there's something mysterious about that painting.
Yeah, and you can project meaning onto it. That's the thing. Yeah. That's what people have been doing for centuries, projecting meaning onto it.
Just a slight, it's within the same theme, but talking of painters and stuff. When I was 8, I must have heard this song first when I was 18, something like that, maybe 17, but probably 18. And I thought for years, actually, that she's all right, she's just near, she's delicate and seems like the mirror, as the mirror, as they say in America. I didn't know at 18. What's he saying? The mirror, because I'm English, so I didn't know.
It's also slightly difficult to make out.
Yeah, but I thought she's delicate and seems like Vermeer. So I thought he was talking about she looks like a painting, which I kind of like in a way.
I thought exactly the same thing. I thought it was Vermeer.
Yeah.
No, because I'd never seen the lyrics, and I thought I vaguely heard of the painter Vermeer.
Yeah,
but it sounds kind of like he's saying that.
Yeah.
And the thing is, the mirror and Vermeer sound very similar anyway. So I think it could be Bob skirting pretty close to the edge.
Yeah.
But here's a theory you can shoot down quite quickly. That the one with the mustache is the Mona Lisa. Because she does have a slight little fringe above her.
I haven't looked at it in a while. Like, I haven't seen the painting in a while.
And she's the one. It's probably entirely wrong. She's the one who can't find her knees because Da Vinci hasn't painted her knees.
I like that.
Jeez, I can't find my knees.
Find my knees. It's one of those lines that. It's one of my favourite in his whole catalogue. Mona Lisa must have had the highway blues. You can tell by the way she smiles. Yeah. It's brilliant and witty and fun and doesn't take itself too seriously. But it's almost, with people who maybe don't know Bob's work that well, that line is almost a litmus test for me of whether I can do business with them on Bob. I remember there was a sort of fling I had years ago, and she just didn't get it. And she was super smart and loved music and other stuff. She was like, just that line doesn't do anything for me. I was like, I don't think you're probably going to be a Bob fan. And that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. But yeah, the G's I can't find my knees line, to me, is so brilliant. And you can almost see Bob rolling his eyes at this person who's astounded by these paintings in a museum. Almost, it feels to me that verse about inside the museum, infinity goes up on trial. What a line, by the way.
Yeah,
but it feels like the weird thing of being an artist in a setting where it's kind of that liberal elite intellectuals in London coming around with their diamonds on and going, oh, isn't it exquisite, and blah blah blah. That to me is how it feels. And I can just imagine people like Bob and John Lennon and stuff just being so ill at ease in those situations. Just
yeah. I mean, going back to the song itself, here's a few things that I've written down. That Robert Shelton, the famous Dylan biographer, calls it Dylan's finest poem. Not song, but poem.
Oh, it could easily be, but it's beautiful as well.
And he compares it to Keats' Ode to a Grecian Urn. And to me, much more superficial, but the rhymes the rhymes are all fabulous. But here's just a series of rhymes from one verse. Has not showed, now corrode, once had flowed, steps to the road, returns which was owed, the fish truck that loads while my conscience explodes. That's I just actually got goosepimples. That's a
it's
series
brilliant.
of rhymes.
Yeah, I've written it. Only Bob can make 7 consecutive line endings rhyme and it be interesting, because it builds and then he goes, the harmonicas play, and he's into the next thing. It's how he does it, I don't know. Because if I tried to do that, it would sound shite.
And, he was writing this apparently at a folded down piano top in the studio, just dashing this off before.
Yeah, I don't even think he can explain it. And artists generally can't. Like, hearing, like, there's diary entries about William Blake talking about his creativity, and he's just saying, none of it is me. It's something working through me. It has nothing to do with me.
And so, this has just come up on my iPad just because I've got all the lyrics, and I must say, I'm a lot of the song just completely still mystifies me. But I don't mind that.
No, I'm the same.
Particularly the middle bits where we're now deep into it, and he's done all his, the wonderful introduction of, and it's just like the night to play tricks when you're trying to be so quiet, and even the museum infinity goes up on trial. I'm still with you, but the peddler now speaks to the countess who's pretending to care for him, saying, "Name me someone that's not a parasite, and I'll go out and say a prayer for him." But like Louise always says, you can't look at much, can you, man? As she herself prepares for him. It's so twisty and bendy, and I mean, I don't know if you've got any thoughts about that.
This is one thing I doing this podcast, and especially with the true masterpieces, has made me learn that one of the things that's great about Dylan is I reflect my own experiences back on his work. So I don't have to understand the whole thing. It's just the bits that kind of jump out to me in a way. And I mean, I could make an assumption about, the Countess being, I don't know, a concubine or something. She's sponging off a richer man, the death of the upper class, really old money Englishman was happening around after World War One and carried on into the 60s. So you had countesses going with bankers because they had no money anymore. They had big estates, but they had no money. So to me, that a parasite, you're living off someone else's money, kind of thing. Right. But who fucking knows? Probably not.
Who knows? I mean, but still, the thing is, I've listened to the song so many times, over the last little while, and it's so, it's truly beautiful to me. It is like a painting, and I just put it on, make some coffee, and I never get tired of it because it is so beautiful. Yeah, just the combination of consonants and vowels is just.
And you're so right. It is like a painting, and people, Bob fans and critics and stuff always talk about Tangled Up in Blue being the perfect embodiment of what Dylan was trying to do with make a song like a painting, and I think that is where he perfects it. But this is, they're disparate images that come together to form a full narrative. Like the museum scene out of context doesn't make really any sense with how the song starts, but his longing for Joanna and his almost futile attitude to existence that I feel that he's saying prior to that verse makes that verse completely make sense. It's like these different scenes. You've got the loft, you've got the museum, you've got these. It's like a Picasso painting. It's like Guernica, where a million things are going on that sort of correlate as a whole but don't make sense individually.
Yeah, although I do think the idea of in the museum infinity goes up on trial is very much very understandable. Dylan doesn't, I was going to say I don't think he relates to anything that is a sort of a museum because that's dead. Yeah. Infinity goes up on trial. Let's talk about this bit of history. Let's nail it down. Let's put it on trial. Is the antithesis of what Dylan's is. And
also, I imagine at that stage, he's now securely seen as this sort of genius rock poet in the mid-60s, and this incredible album comes out. So he's probably Infinity goes up on trial. What is legacy as an artist? Does it matter? Even if it happens, I'll be fucking dead, so I won't know that it's happening. Yeah, and then these arseholes are going to come along and critique it.
I know that one of the most memorable lines of a Dylan interview is when, I can't remember which interview it is, but it's the one where he says, "It's all dust." And how wonderful to be able to step back and even, with all this praise which was showered on him and this vitriol as well, but just to say it's all dust. And I think he's always thought that.
Yeah.
But going back to relating to the song, you were talking about, possible old girlfriends who couldn't relate to the song. I actually never thought I could relate to the song until just preparing for this. Like, I thought it was beautiful, and it spoke to me in the terms of some of its ideas, like Infinity Goes Up on Trial. But I didn't really think I could relate to it until I realized I could, and that Johanna, this ethereal, out of reach, thing, is the life that I kind of thought I might have as a really successful actor and a really successful artist and showbiz, personality. And that I was never able to grasp, like I was chasing it. And that eventually I had to let it go and appreciate Louise.
Yeah.
And although Johanna still haunts my mind, she's never going to not haunt your mind.
I'm sad that you've said that last bit, because I'm actually, interestingly, I think I said this when I first interviewed
when
you for
we
Starving
met
Artist.
on your podcast.
I said I was coming to terms with sort of the death of my dream, and you said, don't let it die. Know that it probably won't happen, but don't let it die.
Exactly.
And I am kind of coming to that realization as I have something that now resembles a career as an actor, which I didn't for years. Seeing, it wouldn't have made me happy, and I know that's not where happiness lays. It's very exciting, and the work's great. I'd love to be able to be in a situation where I can go to my agent. I'd really love to play Macbeth at the National. Could you reach out to Lindsay Turner and see if she fancies directing it? That would be great, you know. Yeah. But the actual chase for it, I don't think, however successful you get, I don't think the chase stops. It's just the higher the earnings, the higher the tax bill, the higher the success, the more you're going, well, why is he nominated for the fucking Oscar this year and I'm not?
Yeah,
well, why is he?
Yeah.
Why did he get it and I didn't?
Yeah.
And in a way, it's even more annoying because you're at this high level.
Yeah. So people are always chasing Johanna, and I realize that's partially
really great way.
It's a very down to earth way of looking at it. It's not a very artistic way, but I think it works on so many levels. Because
I think it's a really, really good point, though. I don't think you should, it's not that down to earth. It is down to earth, but it works because I think we all have this sense of, maybe Joanna is, this idealized version of love or life that we think would make us happy. But in practicality, that's not where happiness comes from. Yeah. And, probably if Bob fell in shacked up with Johanna, there would be serious repercussions a few months down the line where they're not getting on, and they're both two artists and they just are at each other's throats.
Yeah, no, I'm sure Johanna would have been impossible. That Diamonds and Rust, where Joan Baez says something about him being impossible to live with. There's literally a line.
I love that song.
Yeah. So I think if you get the real Johanna, it's never going to work out. She's got to be.
And actually, it can really fuck with you, because I imagine, and I do know a few people that it's happened to, where they get the thing that they thought was going to make them happy, and it doesn't, and then they really are depressed because you're like, fuck. What do I do now?
That reminds me of a Dan Byrne song. We were talking about Dan Byrne before we started this, and it's a great song. The opening lines are, I got big balls, big as grapefruits, big as pumpkins. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And on my really good days, my balls are the size of small dogs. Anyway, he goes on, and it's all about how great he is. But it's ultimately about getting what you want. He said, I had a friend, and this is in the song, I won't, who one day, his ambition was to go down on Madonna. And one day, in a hotel room in Rome, he got to go down on Madonna. He got to achieve his ambition. And he came back to us and he said, I went down on Madonna. and now life is shit.
Yeah, where do I go from here?
That's what
Where do I go down on next?
I can't remember what it's not called Big Balls, the song, but it's a great song about exactly that.
Yeah.
And we should put a little graphic warning on our thing.
Well, I mean, this is a slight tangent, but I do think they link together. I was thinking why, because this is one of Bob's, true masterpieces, and I think from reading reviews at the time, it was sort of immediately seen as a very major work. But he's not played it live. I do have it somewhere. I think it's like 400 odd times, maybe even less, throughout the years that he's played it live. He doesn't play it regularly live. And I was thinking, why? And I think it's almost like the song in its final iteration is close to perfect. And Bob, when he works live, he likes to change things and find new things. And I just don't think there's an improvement of this. So it's almost like that perfection. When you reach it, it's like, oh, well, he's written this masterpiece that he doesn't play live very often.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well,
life is shit from here on in. Yeah. Here's a little twist that I think you'll be surprised by. I thought about what you said about the Beatles versus Dylan, particularly listening to this. And I did a bit of research. And the day before the recording session of Visions of Johanna, the Beatles' Rubber Soul received 10 Grammy nominations. And I thought about the sort of thing that a dichotomy of Baby You Can Drive My Car versus Visions of Johanna. Back then, anyway. And the longest song on Rubber Soul was 3 minutes and 19 seconds.
And I think it was their first over 3 minute
song. It was the longest song they'd ever...
I'm currently reading John and Paul that you lent me.
Right, yeah. And Johanna is 7:33. And, there's not an extra... And it's not even the longest song on that album.
Yeah. I have a confession to make to you and to all our fans and to all the people who hounded me in the comments. I am a Beatles fan now, Kerry Shale.
Whoa.
We'll go into it more maybe on another episode, but I had a Road to Damascus moment where I was just listening to what did I listen to first? I listened to While My Guitar Gently Weeps, which that little run on the White Album where it's that and then Happiness Is a Warm Gun and then something else.
You were a big fan of that bit.
Anyway, I've always loved the White Album. It's too long, but I love the White Album.
Yeah.
But then something just clicked. I don't know what it was, and I saw how, even if that was released now, it sounds modern and it sounds new. I don't know, just the things, this sort of...
But what did you go back? Because I suggested you go back to Help.
I went back to the start, and then, but I totally saw what you meant when it gets to Help, something changes. And Rubber Soul, to me, I actually found Rubber Soul a really frustrating album because there's so many signs of where they're going, but there's also Drive My Car, which is a great tune, but it is a poppy tune and stuff. And I'm like, oh, you're so nearly there. And then when it gets to Revolver, that's where I'm fully in, and kind of always have been fully in from Revolver onwards. But I think I took them as the next level of great rock and roll pop songs, that the Buddy Holly and now this, and it is different. And even the first Beatles album, I'm like, it's just normal pop tunes, but I'm still shaking my head like Ringo listening to them.
I mean, they're magic. I mean, I'm certainly not turning against the Beatles, but I mean, the music is magic. The lyrics work with the music. The lyrics aren't really magic, but just I Want to Hold Your Hand is perfect for what it is.
But I will, it's just, there's something that's just cleared my mind of just my generational thing of not getting why they were so big, and then actually thinking of, well, what was Buddy Holly's last album sound like compared to the first Beatles album? Where does that change? And then what they're doing, as you've said before, sonically and in terms of engineering, and George Martin is very, I think, should get more credit for that than he maybe does. But yeah, it's just opened up something. So to all the people in the comments who call me a prick, or also,
did they really do that? I don't read the comments.
There are a few really nasty ones. Wow. There was mostly, the one that made me laugh the most was because I was hearing it in this voice. I'm like, tell me someone doesn't understand early Beatles without telling me they don't understand early Beatles. It's like that sort of thing. But I do stand by the fact that it was similar to what you were saying. The difference of what the Beatles were doing in '65 and what Dylan is doing is massive to me. They're very different. Doesn't mean one's better than the other, but I do feel Dylan's is more... Original's not the right word, but idiosyncratic. It's a new thing, and it's very... You listen to that and you go, oh, that's Dylan.
Yeah, I think Dylan sort of led the Beatles in ideas, like...
Which is what I think frustrates me as a Dylan fan. People constantly saying, you know, oh, the Beatles are the most important band in, you know, the most important act in the history of music. And I'm kind of like, I think Bob should at least be alongside them.
I think, yes. I mean, I think the Beatles commercially were, you know, much more important than Dylan. But I think that Dylan influenced the Beatles more than the Beatles influenced Dylan.
And I think the Beatles would admit that.
Yeah. I think, you know, just the things like the anger of his songs. You know, it gave the Beatles permission to be angry.
Yeah.
And the mysticism of his songs, like Visions of Johanna, gave the Beatles permission to be mystical.
I'm reading the book you've lent me. You know, the effect it had on John specifically.
You mean John and Paul?
Yeah, John and Paul. But the effect that Dylan's lyrics had on John of trying, okay, I'm going to up my game now. And then you get, you know, my favourite Dylan Beatles song probably is Day in the Life, I think, is probably my favourite. Well, there's a few. And lyrically, that is so brilliant. By John, and you can tell he's gone, oh, okay. This is
they've been huge. I mean, I read the other day that Help, the song Help, that they referred to it in the studio because he had a number of goes as your Dylan song. Do you want to do your Dylan song again? Because, again, he was, you know, he heard Dylan opening up emotionally and thought, he was ready to open up emotionally. Plus, I do think, you know, Dylan, we don't know exactly what drugs he took when, but whatever drugs he took, clearly he did them all before the Beatles did them.
Yes. Well, he introduced them to pot, famously.
He introduced them to pot. And I'm sure I think he has intimated that he did LSD. I shouldn't think he did LSD that much because I shouldn't think he would have had to do LSD.
As a former drug addict, I can only theorize, but it looks very amphetamine-y to me.
Yeah, most of it.
Him in 65, 66. It looks like he's using it to keep going, essentially.
Yeah.
But as my uncle used to say, he was a roadie for years, but with really big bands. And he just once said to me, that sort of lifestyle, you need drugs to stay awake and drugs to get to sleep. So you're basically just self-medicating the whole time.
Yeah, in fact, somebody was saying to me about Rolling Thunder the other day and just said, you know, I said, wow, you know, they're having such a great time. And he said, have you ever seen such coked out eyes as on Roger McGuinn and Bob Dylan when they're doing that duet? It's just, you know, they're just, you know, they're brilliant musicians. But it's life on the road, and
hard living people, as we said earlier. So we've got Johanna, Louise, Little Boy Lost. Now I want to know, where are Joanna and Louise now? Are they respectably married or running a whorehouse in Buenos Aires? That was my question. And also, I've got a theory. It's not a theory, but here we go. So Little Boy Lost.
Yeah,
is Morrissey. He takes himself so seriously, he brags of his misery. There we go.
Okay, there you go. But of course, in the original, I think it's a really interesting phrase because is Dylan talking about himself?
That's what I thought first. I was like, is Little Boy Lost him? But it's almost too scathing to be him.
He never strikes me as being lost.
No,
but it's a great phrase.
But he is maybe not lost in this song, but lonely. He seems lonely in this song, which you don't get much prior to Blood on the Tracks, really. You don't get Lonesome Bob that often.
No, and he takes himself, like Little Boy Lost, he takes himself so seriously. Just the two together is one way into the song for certainly, you know, me. I find that when I take myself too seriously, I am lost. And it doesn't happen that often. But when it does happen, it's sort of like the worst thing because I sort of see things through a prism of humor. And that's not necessarily superficial. I mean, it's the way I deal with tragedy. It's the way I deal with everything.
I think it's from the outside, and I think it's a very Jewish thing. And I think it's something that the Jewish community has had to historically have a very good sense of humor in some ways. I think from speaking to my Jewish friends and stuff, I think that's part of the culture, a humor.
Yeah.
Take a humor with things, you know.
Absolutely. We're gonna cover Po' Boy soon.
Po' Boy.
Po' Boy. And that's just a little hint of my take on the song.
So because I mentioned it earlier, 216 times it's been played live. That's all. That's
not much.
Not much, considering
he's probably played Blind Willie McTell more now.
Yeah. He rarely does it. And the one thing I've noticed going back and listening to a lot of Dylan live stuff is when he includes it, it's always sporadic. It's never. Usually with a lot of songs, he's like, oh, he's playing Blind Willie McTell for the next leg of the tour kind of thing. Never like that with Visions of Johanna, really. No,
it's like a special treat or a special jewel that he takes out and shows you.
And it's so great when he does. I've never listened to a live version of Visions of Johanna that isn't brilliant.
Has he done it in the last 20 years?
He must have done it in the last 20 years, but I can see, actually. Let me have a...
And then we should close it up, because we've talked about this longer than we talk about most songs. But
Visions of Johanna.
While you're doing that, I'll just mention who played on it. There's a big dispute. I don't know if you know about that. Daryl Sanders, who wrote this book, says that a guitar player called Jerry Kennedy played on it, which I'd never heard before I picked up this book, because some people, Al Cooper says Robbie Robertson played on it, but historically Robbie Robertson was not there. He didn't. He was not in Nashville. He got there later on. And aside from that, Charlie McCoy played acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
Al Cooper played organ.
Kenny Buttrey was the drummer.
Kenny Buttrey was the drummer, and Joe South was the bass player. Yeah, Kenny Buttrey.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Is amazing.
That rhythm section on that album is fantastic, actually.
And even, people don't talk about, like, just the recording. Like, I've been listening to the CD, because I so many times these days I listen to Evil Spotify, because it's just, I'll listen to this, boom, I'll listen to this, boom. But I took out my CD, and it's very simple sonically, but the sound is great. That Thin Wild Mercury sound is great, and a lot of it is based on the drum, like the hi-hat.
Little hi-hat, and the way the drums and the bass work together. Loads of descending bass lines throughout the album, but it's one of those songs we could, as you say, we've gone on longer but we've barely touched the sides of it. How do you sum up it? I don't think you can sum up Visions of Johanna. It's what it is means to you. I mean, the great thing about Dylan is you could, if you're a creative mind, you could take this song, you could take the settings, you could take the characters, and you could create a trilogy of novels based on just Little Boy Lost. That's why he's so great. Hi Bobcats. If you enjoy Bob Dylan approximately and would like access to longer bonus episodes,
early access to all episodes,
plus a whole range of exclusive membership benefits,
consider becoming a Bobsessive over at our Patreon page.
You'll get all that for just £5 a month.
Oh, and if you're going to sign up, please do so via a web browser rather than the Patreon app.
Or Apple take 30% of our Patreon fee.
Because money doesn't talk, it swears. With your mercury mouth in the missionary times, and your eyes like smoke, and your prayers like rhymes, and your silver cross, and your voice like chimes. Oh, who among them do you think could bury you? With your pockets well protected at last, and your streetcar visions which you place on the grass, and your flesh like silk, and your face like glass. Who among them do you think could carry you? Sad-eyed lady of the lowlands, where the sad-eyed prophet says that no man comes. My warehouse eyes, my Arabian drums, should I leave them by your gate? Or, sad-eyed lady, should I wait? So,
there we go.
Well, we all know that this song is called Sad-Eyed Lady of the Lowlands, and we've been listening to this podcast, so we know what album it's from, so we don't need to do any of that stuff. I used to think, when we first agreed to do it, we said we'll start with a masterpiece and we'll end with this. I think you even called it a piece of shit, Dan.
Did I? Oh dear.
Something like that. You were pretty vehement. And I've always found it really boring and way too long. But I used this in the same way. I had it on a lot. And it finally got through to me. I can't, like, I really admire it now. I don't love it. I don't venerate it like Visions of Johanna, but I kind of get what he was trying to do.
I think that's what I've found from this as well. I still don't like it. I still don't like the song, but I get what he was trying to do. I think he was trying to do a really hard thing, which is write a love song but in an epic form. Like it's like him trying to do Desolation Road but in love. And I actually think Bob writes love songs better when there's distance from it. So even, the earlier love songs, the great ones are when it was when Susie's
right.
in Italy.
Yeah.
I almost think he's too in the center of love for Sarah Dillon to write clearly enough.
He was probably, when he was writing it in the Chelsea Hotel, and he finished it in the studio in Nashville, but she was probably in the room with him. But that's just the way he works. So talk about being close.
Yeah.
But like his idea of love is not one that I share. And, I have had a functioning relationship over 3 decades now, which is more than, Bob had. I'm not comparing myself to Bob, but I just did.
You beat him on that one.
I beat him on that one because possibly I didn't have a sad-eyed lady of the lowlands. Like I didn't have, like, the sad-eyed lady of the lowlands is partially a muse, partially a saint, a queen, a mother figure, a spiritual redeemer, a feminine archetype of all, she also seems this is the thing that really struck me after listening to it so many times. She is the shelter from the storm woman who takes his crown of thorns. Yeah. And that's why she became the idiot wind woman, because he built her up into this, she's human, but in this song she's kind of more than human. She's
sort of ethereal in a way.
Yeah, she is. It's like he's found Johanna.
Yeah,
he thinks he's found Johanna, and it's this whole idea of love as being, I do know about that sort of adoration thing. Like he's got he kind of adores the sad-eyed lady of the lowlands. But I think when I finally understood about love, or what I would call love from personal experience, is that when I first met Suzanne, I adored her, and I thought she was quite perfect, and that went on for quite a long time. I was also kind of in awe of her, and so a lot of this was in the same vein. But when I truly understood what love was when I thought, oh, she does that, that's like, how could she do that? I thought she was this like wonderful, perfect creature. And the more I saw of that, the more I kind of really fell for her.
Because then you see the humanity of the person and you fall in love with humanity. I've similar things. I've not been in a 30-year relationship. It would be impossible anyway. But as I'm 31.
Well, that could happen. Could happen.
But it's often the things that they find embarrassing about themselves, or silly things that they do that they're a bit like, oh, I hope no one sees that I fell in love with in the past. So I do know
and there's
what you
nothing in this song of that.
No. Eyes like smoke, it really is archetypes, isn't it? I mean, that's
there's a lot of archetypes, and then it goes into, and this is the reason I think that, the unlovable stuff, which is, I think it's just a bunch of in-jokes, really. They wish, this is really difficult to sing. They wished you'd accepted the blame for the farm, but with the sea at your feet and the phony false alarm, and with the child of a hoodlum wrapped up in your arms, how could they ever, ever persuade you?
Well, this is the thing. We talk a lot about, especially Bob from sort of Love and Theft onwards, how brilliant he is at phrasing and cramming in syllables that most of us wouldn't be able to say, let alone sing in time with the song. But if this song was just mushy, and it is immediately mushy, like as soon as the doon 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 doon, it really, I'm just like, oh god, head in hands a little bit. If it was just mushy, fine. It's the fact that he doesn't do what he can do. He like I've written this line as an example. He goes, "Your pockets well protected at last." So he's splitting up one line. Now Bob doesn't do that usually, and it just, I don't know. Bob doesn't break up the verse like that very often, and it sort of, to me, shows him not being able to do what he set out to do, which is fine. It's an incredibly hard thing to do. How many people have written an epic love song, like an 11-minute love song, and got away with it? Not many.
But I get the feeling with, him, of course, he didn't tell them how long it was going to be. They'd set it up. And you can hear them thinking, this has got to be the final verse.
You can hear them building, and then he's like, oh, he's doing a fucking harmonica solo again.
Apparently, Kenny Buttrey, the drummer, started looking at his watch because Dylan wasn't, catching anybody's eye. No. So everybody was doing it. And they were all looking at each other. And Kenny Buttrey kept looking at his watch, in between beats. And how long can this possibly go on? But that is the problem with it. It's a very introverted sort of, it's almost like he's singing it to himself.
It's too personal in a way. It's one of those songs that we were just talking about, Visions of Vagina. And with most Bob songs, I can connect to it somehow. Yeah. Even though I know it's not about me, I can relate it to something that's happened to me. I can't with this, even though I've been in love, because it's about Bob's love.
Yeah. Yeah. Here's something like I've come to, appreciate the good bits, but here's a note I made. This to me is a Dan Crespin sort of note.
Okay.
Dylan sounds frightened and needy as he addresses the sad-eyed lady, like an Amazon delivery man wanting a good review. He asks, "These packages, should I leave them by your gate or should I wait?"
That line's so odd, isn't it? Should I leave them by the gate or should I? Yeah, that lady should I lead for you.
I mean, what is that? But he is very much putting himself in a submissive pose.
There's also something, I don't know if you agree with this, but there's something about being around people who are falling, not people who are in love, but people who are falling in love. It is fucking so annoying. Because the world to them is just those two, and it's not their fault. They're drug addicts. Their brain's giving them a load of chemicals. But that's kind of how I felt. Like I'm looking at this guy trying to say how much he loves his wife. I'm like, I kind of don't care.
No, it's a terror. That is exactly what's happening. I had a what I call my Alienate Everyone tour. Where I had just met Suzanne, and literally a week before, and I had booked a trip back to Canada. And what I used to do, and still sometimes do, is I do Toronto, then Winnipeg, then Calgary, then Vancouver. Those are where my friends are. It's very expensive and very time consuming. And this one, I think I was gone for almost a month. And I just fell in love with Suzanne. And I told everybody about it, and I was calling her. She came to visit me actually in Toronto. So I alienated my best friend Dan, who I've talked to you about.
Yeah. That's the first one that goes, is friends. It's difficult as a friend having your. Obviously, you're happy for them.
I went there for his. I think it was his 40th birthday, and I was going to be going there by myself, but then Suzanne was able to come and join me. So we went to his 40th birthday party, and he loves a good party, and he threw a big party. All his friends were there, and I'm really one of his oldest, dearest friends. And Suzanne and I sat in the corner and snogged the entire time. So alienated.
Oh,
and
God.
his wife didn't speak to me for a couple of years. I had to go back on my hands and knees because I just, it was not a good vibe.
Yeah, just love drunk
for the party. Yeah. And it just sort of went on. And every city I went, I alienated my family.
I was living with, they were very lovely. They were sort of trying to help me, but they were also falling in love. I was living with a girl who was at Lambda with me, and she was falling in love with a great guy who I really got on with, but we were living together. And I was in the worst state, and I was about a week away from going into rehab for the first time, and I was living with these two people I was at the depths of everything, and these fuckers were falling in love.
There is some, when you see, I remember when I was living my lonely single existence in London, going on the tube and watching people being in love.
Yeah,
it's disgusting.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
It's
yeah. I the one this probably it is the one bit of the song I like. The drop into "Said I Lady of the Lowlands." It's a lovely bit of musicianship.
Yeah,
it's just all it is shifting up and down the D major scale, but it's really subtle, and And it works brilliantly. It's a nice little refrain from the chorus.
Well, I love the way he goes, said I literally,
yeah.
I mean, the way he goes Lou on low is just...
I mean, D major's such a basic scale, but he manages to make it... I don't know. Most people wouldn't drop down that low and then come back up.
I mean, it's really well sung, though, isn't it? It's terrific.
Yes,
it's amazing.
I don't normally do this, but I do have a note about this where I have to find it because talking about.
Well, I'll go back to that same verse. They wished you'd accepted the blame for the farm. What could this verse possibly mean? And there's another mention of a farm, like in Hollis Brown or Motorcycle Nightmare.
Yeah.
Like Dylan likes to write about farms for some reason, and
there's something American about it. I think it's an American farm. Maybe.
Yeah, but I mean, it is irritating, this line, because it's got a lot of plosives in it. It's got, they wished you'd accepted the blame for the farm, but what with the sea at your feet and the phony false alarm? I'm sorry, I have not even 0%.
It's probably
idea.
I think
it's an in joke.
Yeah, she probably knows what that means.
She probably knows.
Yeah,
that's exactly it. Because I think that's the problem with it. You know, despite like the beauty and the rolling music and the high, beautiful drumming and bass playing, is. Yeah, I came out the other end of this song having sort of thought, accepted. I thought, I get it. I see what you're doing. And then I thought, it still pisses me off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't write songs that are just full of gnomic, introverted.
No, it feels
things.
like write her a poem and give it to her.
And give it to her. But that's what he did.
Yeah.
Like, this is for her. This is clearly for Sarah.
Yeah. But I've found the notes. Just Dylan's vocals are great on this, and they sound great, and they almost manage to make what I find to be a very uninteresting song half interesting. I mean, if a very pretty, beautiful, clean voice like Joan Baez was singing this song, oh my God, it would be utterly unbearable, I think.
Yeah.
But he manages the cadences, the rhythm, the way he stretches out stuff. In fact, listening to this, I was like, yeah, he's a really fucking great vocalist. I knew that anyway, obviously, but I'm like, I can even with not a great song, he brings things to it that other singers wouldn't.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it would be unlistenable if it was. And in fact, I've heard there's a couple of other versions that I listened to just as a break from this. Richie Havens does a version, which is very interesting. He cuts a couple of verses, and
good.
It's very upbeat. It's very accessible. And the Old Crow Medicine Show did an album of the entire Blonde on Blonde, right?
Yeah.
And, it's very country. And the guy's voice, the lead singer, because it's the last, they performed it in order, live, in front of an audience. And his voice is beginning to crack at this point from the strain of just doing all of Blonde on Blonde. But it doesn't, neither one of them really work. Like they're much more, in a way, they're both very easy to listen to, the Richie Havens and the Old Crow Medicine Show, but they don't capture the song at all. They can't possibly capture it because it's supposed to be slow. Another thing that it's supposed to be, and it does perfectly, is it's the final track.
Yeah.
Like, you couldn't follow Sad-Eyed Lady of the Lowlands with another track on an album. It's got to be the final track. And it's sort of, the rest of Blonde on Blonde is full of, kind of in a way, the usual suspects: anger, suspicion, snarkiness, conflict, accusation, just all sorts of, and this is, he's come to a place, where he can have a nice warm cuddle with his muse.
Yeah, I think it's part of the thing that annoys me about it is that it's got a whole side of a double album to it, and it's this masterpiece of an album, and then it ends with this, and I think he genuinely thought it was great.
It's very what's the word? Congratulatory, I guess. Yeah. I deserve this, and I'm going to take it.
And I think Dylan is so good, and great artists are, at using image, symbolism, metaphor, archetype. But the point of it is that it's supposed to point you towards a more universal truth, I think.
Yeah.
Although to a lot of people, they don't get the metaphor. It's meant to be pointing you towards truth. This doesn't for me. It's just disparate images that I don't understand.
There's some, I have to say, I've come all the way around. Because I remember a few weeks ago, I said, I've been listening to Sad Eyed Lady, and I really quite like it.
I was like, oh God, I've got to rein in my...
No, then I came out the other end.
Yeah.
By the way, we were talking about the They Shoot Horses, Don't They? The play that I'm writing for the BBC, which I'm not sure when this is going to go out, but the play goes out on the 19th of July. And I told you that I'd smuggled in a bunch of Bob Dylan lyrics or did I tell you?
No, you
that?
didn't.
Oh yeah. And so they do work. They work for, I'm not trying to screw it up. I've got this woman with sad eyes and a cowboy mouth, which I'm pretty proud of.
Very nice.
Because cowboy mouth is not, we're not in the original thing. And the woman is from Texas. The main character is from Texas. Right. And she's also always swearing. So she's got a cowboy mouth.
Fabulous. That's great. I like that.
There's a bit in it. Like, I hope this doesn't destroy it for you because I have smuggled in about half a dozen Bob Dylan lines, but they all work. But the last thing that I didn't smuggle in is like right towards the end of it when they've been through this dance marathon and they're sitting outside on the pier in L.A. And this is in the novel. He turns to her and he says, "Oh, look, that light in the distance, it's Malibu." And I thought, fuck, there's a Dylan reference in this. It was written in 1935.
I think I was thinking, when you're that obsessed with Dylan, we can think anything. Correlate, yeah.
Yeah.
Another bit I do like. I don't know what it means, but my warehouse eyes, my Arabian drums. Yeah. I do like that line. I don't know what it means. With the music, it goes very nice.
He loves Arabian stuff, doesn't he?
Does.
I mean, I think you could go through his albums and pick out all the Arabian musical references as well as other references. But I don't have Warehouse Eyes. I have had to think about that because it's repeated every 8 or 9 times.
Yeah.
That he sees this wonderful warehouse of jewels and binoculars.
Yeah,
it's been so influential, this song, and it occurred to me that before this, I think Van Morrison, Leonard Cohen, Springsteen, or the Beatles wouldn't have attempted, not this particular song, but this particular album, anything on this epic scale.
No, and the level of variety from Subterranean Homesick Blues to this to obviously Five Believers, like a real bluesy one, to the more sardonic I Don't Believe You, which acts like we never have met, stuff like that. But I don't think it's Bob's fault in a way, but it's in 6/8, so it's kind of like a waltz.
Yeah,
you can't do an 11-minute waltz. Doesn't matter how good you are, it'll get dull. Waltzes are supposed to be... Can you imagine, like, Take It to the Limit, which is in 3/4 by the Eagles? Can you imagine that for 16 minutes? It's a great song, but it's meant to be 4 or 5 minutes, because otherwise you get into this weird plodding
I think that's
thing.
why, that's why he does. Every time he sings, Sad-Eyed Lady of the Land, he always does something really... And I that was the only way to get through it. But as you say, yes, after a while, like, I don't think I'm going to be listening to it for a long time.
No.
This.
Yeah.
By the way, there's one. This is for the pedants. This is for like me at my most pedantic. I was listening to it for the umpteenth time, and I noticed I think it's a little joke. And this is not a song full of jokes. Where the choruses, where no man comes. Have you noticed that it's about the 7th chorus? He sings, "With a sad-eyed prophet say that no man's come."
No, I didn't notice that.
It's not a mistake.
Yeah.
I was listening to, I thought, wait, and I went back and I played it. So I thought, what are you doing here, Bob? Where no man comes, and where the sad-eyed prophets say that no man's come. That's different. That's kind of dirty now.
Well, there's a couple of days where, like, where is it? It's towards the start where it might not be Mercury Mouth in the Missionary Times.
I know it's hard not to hear that word.
Yeah, difficult.
Yeah, mouths and missionary.
Mercury Mouths and Missionary in the same line.
Yeah, no, I think we could do a bonus episode on just dirty lyrics.
We
in Bob
could.
Dylan
We
songs.
should.
You could
We
find them
definitely should.
very easily.
Yeah.
Just
I won't need to do any research. You'll find them all for me.
exactly.
I'd just like to say about, because we've mentioned it, how it was recorded. So Kenny Buttrey, which I've just lost the quote now. Here we go. He says, if you notice that record, that thing after like the second chorus starts building and building like crazy, and everybody's just peaking it up because we thought, man, this is it. This is going to be the last chorus and we've got to put everything into it we can. And he played another harmonica solo and went back down to another verse, and the dynamics had to drop back down to a verse kind of feel. After about 10 minutes of this thing, we're cracking up at each other at what we're doing. I mean, we peaked 5 minutes ago. Where do we go from here? I just love... I mean, he wrote this in a speed fever by the sounds of it. He wrote most of it in the studio. He was scrabbling away. Apparently they got in to record the first take of this at 4 a.m. and he'd started kind of sitting down to rework it at 6 p.m. So I think getting that sense of what it was like helps with this.
Do you know what I read? That Charlie McCoy said, I think, is that none of the musicians had ever played on a song that ran for longer than 3 minutes.
Wow.
So how, like they might have thought, okay, 4.
Yeah.
Maybe 5? But by the time you get to 6?
It's like, I imagine, and this is maybe something we don't give Bob enough credit for. I think there's a lot of things people don't give Bob credit for, because he was so revolutionary that they just take it as read. But innovating the long epic song. Desolation Row came out a year before this. Imagine in the 65 sitting down to listen to that and going, fuck me, what is this? It's still going, and it's, God, he's on to another, incredible.
Yeah. Here's I think we're probably running down now, but here's one. I've just been flicking through the verses. There's so many verses. What is one to make of this? Like, this is, by the middle of it, you begin to zone out, don't you? So I'm looking at this. Now, mind you, I got this from the bobdylan.com website, so maybe it's not even in it. I don't know. Because I recognize some bits of it, but others have just passed me by. So this is what it says. And actually, it's another farm reference. Oh, the farmers and the businessmen, they all did decide to show you the dead angels that they used to hide. But why did they pick you to sympathize with their side? Oh, how could they ever mistake you? Now, I don't even know if that's in the song. I remember, oh, how could they ever mistake you? But do you think he's just dropped that in?
I have no idea.
Oh, the farmers and the businessmen.
There's something kind of all along the Watchtower about that, isn't there? The farmers and the businessmen, ploughmen and businessmen.
Said the farmer to the businessman.
Yeah.
It didn't scan.
Yeah.
I don't know. And actually, the farmers and the businessmen sounds kind of funny, but it is a bit like, it's like the farmers, organic men of the soil, businessmen, the opposite.
Yeah.
They all did decide to show you the dead angels that they used to hide. Dead angels is awful and ugly to me.
Yeah.
And they're hidden because they're dead. But why did they pick you to sympathize with their side? Now, I don't even know. Are those the lyrics? Do you have the lyrics in front of you?
No, I don't.
They don't sound familiar.
It's one of those.
To me,
I did look at the bobdylan.com stuff, but obviously because I don't know it's a bit long song. I don't know all the lyrics that well. I couldn't tell if there were that many changes.
I think it's because I don't know whether that's in there or not. They will have to ask our Patreon or people, or even regular listeners, are these actual lyrics, or do you just stick them in there 5 years ago on an evening when you had nothing better to do? That was Bob Dylan Approximately with Carrie Shale
and Daniel Crespin, produced by Robin Guise
and recorded at Cathouse Studios, Islington, London.
If you have a Bobsessive friend, please spread the word.
It ain't quite the end.
We'll just bid farewell till we meet again.
So this is our longest episode.
This is our Sad-Eyed Lady.
It's our Sad-Eyed Lady of the Moment. That was Bob Dylan, Approximately, with Carrie Shale,
And Daniel Crespin. Produced by Robin Guise.
and recorded at Cathouse Studios, Islington, London.
If you have a Bobsessive friend, please spread the word.
It ain't quite the end.
Or just bid farewell till we meet again.